Hello and welcome to Trojan Talk. I'm your host, Aaron Taylor. Today my guest will be Dr. Francis Slakey, author of To the Last Breath, the author of the book that is the common reader here at Troy University, and I want to welcome here today.
Thank you, Aaron.
And as I mentioned, it is the common reader for Troy University, meaning that all freshmen at Troy University are required to read your book. First question, how does it make you feel to know that an entire class of a university is reading your book and learning from that?
It's the second half of your question that I appreciate so much, learning from it, and I've seen that. I'm very flattered that the book was chosen. You know, when I wrote it, I had no expectation that it would reach this kind of audience, but it has reached this audience. I'm so touched by it, and I've had the opportunity, being here on campus for a couple days now, to hear from the students and hear the impact the book has had, and it's wonderful for me to be part of this.
And of course, the learning element of it. You're a physicist. Obviously, you're in academia, and how does it make you feel that students are able to learn from your words specifically?
So almost from the moment the book came out, I started hearing from people who were impacted by the book in one way or another. And again, I had no idea that's what was going to happen. I just wrote what was on my mind, put it out there on the page, and when you're doing your writing, you're in this bubble. You never know how people are going to react to it, and then it gets out there to the wider audience, and you see. And I've seen the impact it's had, and again, I'm touched by it.
And now let's talk about the book itself for those at home who don't know about the book. You wrote your personal memoir after making a big decision. Let's tell us about what the decision was and what you've written about.
Yeah, so I first started climbing in my teens. I got on a surfboard in my 20s, and I realized in my 30s that if I put those two things together, I could be the first at something. I could be the first person to summit the highest mountain in every continent and surf every ocean. So when I was 37 years old, I set out to complete the first global surf and turf, which is what I called it.
And so your journey and your discovery, I guess, why you did this is what you've shared in your book. And why did you feel so important to be able to share your personal journey? The task itself was amazing, but your personal journey in that process, what made you want to share it with people in the written word?
Yeah, so here's a secret. You're not going to tell anybody.
Okay,
right?
all right.
Just you and me. I wasn't going to write a book. I finished that global surf and turf. And I went into it wanting to be the first at something, but by the time it was over, it just didn't matter that much. And actually, the whole writing process got started because my wife made a very good point. She said, if you can't download something on the internet, then it never really happened. And so if you don't write something and put it out there, then nobody will know that you did this, and somebody else will come along 3 years from now and said they were the first one to do a global surf and turf. That's so fun. So actually, it started, Aaron, with me writing a short piece for Slate.com. And my intention was just to put that out there, just to let people know I did it. But the day that came out, I started getting phone calls from agents and publishers about writing a book, and then everything flowed from there.
Well, one would think that's the kind of story that people would want to hear about, especially being the first and having the opportunity. But for yourself, what do you feel that you've gotten the most out of this entire experience?
I tell you, coming to Troy has been very moving. I'll tell you that.
After doing all you've done, and coming to Troy is very moving.
Yeah, because what I'm doing now is I've been able to affect some people's choices and lives, and to me that's a very powerful thing to be able to do in my life. And so, mountains and waves. That's old news, Aaron. Now what I'm trying to do is have some impact on the world, and it's great that I can have an impact in some small way here in Troy, and I'm going to try to do that elsewhere in the world too.
Well, let's talk about that. Is this Troy the first opportunity you've heard of someone using your book academically, or have you heard of other opportunities where people have done that?
So I just got word that the New York Department of Education is going to actually lift a passage from To the Last Breath, and they're going to make it part of their annual assessment tests for all high school students. And so for the next 3 years, high school students in New York are burdened by the fact that they have to read a bit of To the Last Breath in order to prove their ability in reading and comprehension.
And of course, obviously, you've got to have a little bit of pride once again that Troy University students are taking part in your story and learning from your story.
Oh, absolutely.
And so at this point, what do you hope that students will be able to take from your story?
So I just heard from one student, it was just wonderful to hear this, that she was never a real reader. And then she picked up To the Last Breath and discovered a passion for reading. And, wow, the fact that my book, even in the case just one student, that my book could have been the start of a lifelong interest in reading, that was just wonderful to hear.
And who knows, maybe you encourage someone to climb some mountains and surf some oceans.
I'd never encourage anybody
Never
to do that.
but obviously the encouraging reading is a good thing, and maybe they'll follow in your footsteps in other ways. So we'll want to thank you for your visit today, and of course visit to Troy, and good luck with the rest of your trip.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Aaron.
you.